The dispositions that I possess that I think will make me a successful teacher are high expectations and fairness. And I think they go hand in hand. When it comes to high expectations, this was something that I learned when I was a long-term sub in a grade 8 class. I would set up assignments and I gave them the assignments. It was the same for everybody. I didn't just assume that certain students might not be able to produce the same type of work as their peers. I did have one student in my class who received special ed services. And at times I would have to adjust the style of the assignment. One example was he received services for reading and writing. And his classmates were writing an essay on the native Maine tribes in our area. So rather than him write an essay, I asked him to produce a slideshow. He gave me all the same information as his classmates did. In fact, gave more in-depth information actually than a lot of his classmates did. And he received a 5 on that project, and it was one of the first times he had received such high marks on a project, and it really helped create a better relationship between he and I when he realized that he wasn't always going to feel like he was failing. And I feel like that goes hand in hand with fairness, because when it comes to fairness, we like to think of equality, but it comes down to equity. It's providing each student with the tools they need so that they can try to get to the same goal as everybody else. You can't always have an even playing field, as I heard the term growing up. Some kids need a little extra boost than others in order for them to be able to reach the same potential as everybody else. And I think that is a huge part of one of the reasons why things went as smoothly in my grade 8 class as it did, because I wanted to provide each student with that boost that they needed. And part of that also came from building relationships with them. Without those relationships, it would have been impossible for me to know and provide what each student needed from me as their educator. What disposition do I need to work on going forth into being a first-year teacher? I would say one of the areas that I struggle in personally would be respecting the diversity of others. There have been so many changes on what is acceptable, unacceptable, it's just changed so much in my lifetime that I have to learn to put aside what my own personal beliefs are on certain areas and accept each one of my students where they're at and learn about where they're at, what their culture might be, what their beliefs might be, what their personal decisions are. And I need to respect that. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to be able to build the relationships that I desire to have with my students. So that's the disposition that I know I need to work on. What are some qualities that I think a professional educator should display? Empathy, kindness, being able to show grace to your students. Some students break rules because that's how they gain attention from adults. And there needs to be that awareness and the ability to support them in knowing why it was wrong, but then provide the relationship with them so that they're not seeking the attention in negative ways. I also believe that honesty and truthfulness, which are the same thing, are vital in a classroom, because students need to know that what you're saying to them and how you feel about them is true. And I think as a teacher, those things are vital to bring into your classroom, and it will also help create a healthier atmosphere in the school.